It's 1933, and I'm a private eye. I like to drink egg creams, and I like to fight Nazis. A lot. Sometimes I let matches burn down to my fingertips just to feel something, anything. Oh.
Welcome back to the Iron Seas. We got Azrael and Kahuna with us today. Azrael, Kyle Prometheus on X. He's a promoter, and Kahuna, the lovely captain, as you know. We're going to talk about some noir today.
Shall we?
Now, Kyle couldn't make it on the show, or Azrael couldn't make it onto the show, and time differences, being in Britain and all that. Yes. Things happen. So this is the redemption arc, and I will be appearing on his show as well, and we'll make a little thing out of it.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
Now you may ask, why didn't we accommodate the guest in his time zone? Well, because in 1776 we got the right to go according to our rule.
The shepherd must tend his flock, and at times fight off the wolves.
The movie was It's a Wonderful Life. Theme was noir. Why don't we start off by letting everybody know? I figured we could take this opportunity to just kind of talk about noir in general and educate people on the nuances of it and stuff. So, Azrael, why don't you go ahead and give us your definition of noir? Because I think in this day and age, it is very important to specify your definition, even though it is probably the definition.
French term, black, white, and grey.
High on the iron seas.
High contrast values. We're looking at movies like The Maltese Falcon, The Big Sleep. We're looking at It's a Wonderful Life. We're looking at James Cagney.
What do you want?
You know, pillars, foundational pillars of black and white. There are also probably esoteric French films and others.
There was a time when men were kind.
That kind of noir vibe to them. It's still a black. You could say that almost the entire black and white movie industry at the time, before we got to colour, was all noir to one degree or another.
Right.
Hitchcock, noir. And basically what you're looking at is an era. In our humble opinion, is where they forged storytelling and mastered rim lighting, shadows, didn't have any colour to distract and wow you. That's where the storytelling values were forged, yeah?
Pocket sand!
Same with Casablanca, a romantic noir movie, yeah?
Rosebud.
Well, black and white is also
Rosebud as well,
highlighting
yeah.
emotion.
So that's what noir is to us. It's timeless storytelling.
What a great definition. What do you think, Kahuna? That sounds good to me.
I agree. I do have some questions about because there's some kind of aspects of the story that are usually associated with noir, such as like a protagonist who is a good man at any age, but not a goody two shoes, things of that nature. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering where the kind of more distinct definition of noir came from. Did it start in America with some of the black and white kind of old-timey gangster films, or was it start in France? It's not something I actually know. Yeah, France used to lead a lot of like movie trends. In fact, for a long time it still did. Just America, the industry is so large, it kind of overshadows the rest of the world in that way.
Do you know the movie, the classic city movie, Metropolis? It's by Fritz Lang, isn't it? Of course it is. Yeah. And obviously one of the pioneers of film noir in terms of bringing it to the American market, yeah?
It's an import. That's
very much so. And you've obviously got that entire gang kind of unsavory characteristics that go with it, like the noble, flawed detective in terms of Humphrey Bogart, in The Big Sleep, or the Maltese. He can handle himself in a fight, But a woman's in distress. He's a granite tough guy who has that compassionate side to look after a lady who's in trouble,
It's like it's the world, like in an ideal noir movie, the world is not great, and not everybody, no one is a pure white hero, but but heroic deeds and heroic actions are definitely like there to fight back the darkness. And like I'd even argue that the original 1954 Godzilla has elements of noir, both in the way it's shot and in the themes as well. It's like they're in a very non-idealistic situation in that film, and they're forced to make hard choices. And the way it's shot, especially like in the lab, I'd say I would almost classify original Godzilla as noir in some ways for those reasons. What do you think? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I agree with the Godzilla thing, and so like by Azrael's definition, the visuals are a large factor in it. The heavy saturation and the black and white. So like a lot of the early Godzilla stuff, they were very much trying to be like on the cutting edge of like visual stuff.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll see you in a few hours. I'm getting ready to move.
And the movie magic, right?
For sure, yeah.
But Kahuna said this, sorry to interject, which we agreed with, is that it's high contrast black and white values, but actually the subject matter is grey. So it's black, grey, and white.
Yeah.
And the morals themselves are kind of grey. You know what I mean? You're good, but you got a bit of bad. It's like a choice we have, where we've got the angel on one shoulder, we're not sure which one it is, and the devil talking to you in the other. And so you've got these kind of morality choices.
Listen up, big guy. I got 3 good reasons why you should just walk away. Number 1, look at that guy. He's got that sissy stringy music thing.
You know, and it's about this stinging and tail, the price to pay. Because as Guiding Star once said, there's always a price to pay.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Noir also originated in the 40s, influenced by German expressionism and hard-boiled literature, and it is an embodiment of post-war disillusionment. So basically, it's a direct, according to this, one factor of it. I can't say all of it, right? I think your definition was very well put, but I just want to add more information for any listeners here. It reflects the post-war disillusionment, so it's like an embodiment of how everybody felt about like World War I and II, for good reason. You think about that, makes sense. Maltese Falcon came out in 1941. You mentioned Maltese Falcon. This mentioned Maltese Falcon. This only mentioned 2 movies to point to, and one of them is Maltese Falcon. It says 1940s, and Falcon is 40.
Yeah.
Right, 41 is Falcon, and the war was still going on, so that's probably full disillusionment at that point. There's probably people.
Can you guys imagine making a film in the middle of World War II? That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Nosferatu, by the way, guys.
If you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you.
Tuesday nights know where I'll be.
Nosferatu as well. Yeah.
It's like noir has influenced a lot of genres and characters specific. Like I think of Batman, I think of The Shadow, and like how a lot of the original like pulp noir movies were based off of like pulp and penny novels that you could buy in America at the time as well, like in the 1940s or 50s. And I think it's interesting that noir, which is partially like budget filmmaking considered at the time, was also coming from budget like written word as well, which is an interesting connection there.
Check this out. So it cites 3 key influences here. German expressionism, I mentioned. French poetic realism, which you mentioned. But then also Italian neo-realism. So check this out. The German expressionism, 1910s through the 20s. The French part is the 30s, and the Italian part is the 40s. So it's like a trifecta combination of this, as these filmmakers were like getting into all this different stuff and seeing like it was probably like cool cutting edge technology at the time too. That
it's communism. You got French, you got German, whatever. No.
And they're like, we'll watch the movies. We don't care. They got cool new cameras, whatever. So so the expressionism movement was like the cabinet of Dr. Calgary and Fritz Lang's M. Emphasized. You mentioned Fritz Lang. Emphasized dramatic lighting and psychological depth. Okay, interesting. So the lighting, there's that cosmetic feel that you mentioned. Like it does matter what it looks like. Interesting.
It's low-key lighting, high contrast with deep shadows and stark highlights, often using chiaroscuro techniques to create a moody atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Also, having lower quality cameras back then would have contributed to that look as well. We have modern day tricks and like lighting tricks we can do to help with that. But hell, even in my photography class that I took when I was in high school, my teacher specifically taught that it's like, when do you use black and white for photographs? It's like, she's like, if you want to focus on emotion, like if you're looking at a person, you want to focus on emotion, make it black and white. Mm-hmm. It takes away all the distracting color elements and helps you focus purely on the eyes and on the face and on body movement and expression, which I think helps this genre quite a bit as well. I felt like watching It's a Wonderful Life, you felt the emotion really strongly, and I think that contributed to that.
And you don't realize it does. You're like, I'm watching this black and white movie and I'm like feeling stuff. Like that scene where he comes home after his life has been destroyed and his family doesn't know. His family doesn't know. It's very simple. It is almost like cookie cutter, because obviously this movie invented that freaking scene, basically. So like many people have copied it, but it kind of like rewatching it and, in hindsight, feels like, oh, I've seen this before, because everybody has. It's public.
It's easy to say that when you find the original.
but when you're like, but then when you're like watching it and you're like with like the intent of like watching it in mind, right? All of a sudden that scene comes in, you've been digesting the story. It's like, holy crap, there's not much going on here, but it's just 100% subtext and context.
And when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown.
That's what It's a Wonderful Life is. They spend, the first 2 hours setting up the main character in a very slow burn. And it's to establish all this, it's to lay out all this context so that when things pop off, the subtext really shines through. That's just a fucking great idea.
And also, like, we need all that subtext for when he starts when his actions become less than admirable later in the film. Because if you don't have all of that goodwill from us watching him be essentially a hero and a sacrificial character for the first, I'd say, over half of the movie,
then
you are very forgiving of him, even when he's like yelling at his kids and disrespecting his beautiful, wonderful wife who's done nothing wrong. It's like, we would not be like, imagine if you started off with that scene. You would not
relate to him. There's no foundation by doing it that way. It's basically this, then boom.
Then his life falls apart and you're like, good.
He's going to behave that way because he's desperate, yeah?
It's like desperation will drive people to do crazy things. Like, I'm sure we all have individual stories of that being the case. And like, again, where the black and white really, and the high contrast filmmaking, like what Azrael's talking about, is it comes into focus even more when he's on the bridge. It's dark out, and then the lights reflect off the middle of the bridge, and then you see the water.
The movie is when he's desperate, he's praying to God, and basically he's desperate. You see his eyes, he's got his hands together. He says, I'm not a praying man, but
right.
Get me back! Get me back! I don't care what happens to me. Get me back to my wife and kids.
But it's a good scene. Even secular people can appeal to some sort of higher power, because the whole thing, I went on during the Iron Sea show about how the whole thing came off very Lovecraftian to me. So he's rejecting the angel the whole time. He doesn't even know what this angel is, right? Like, think about it. Really put yourself in his shoes. He doesn't even believe that it's real, right? Which means he doesn't fully understand or grasp the situation. Right, and even though the movie portrays it in a very Christian outlook, if you really look at this from what's going on, just from a bullet point perspective, there was an otherworldly entity basically haunting him, and he was relinquishing himself to a higher power in that moment where he's praying. So even secular people can give themselves up to the idea that they don't understand or they don't know what's going on, and they're so desperate that they're just asking anything, even if they don't particularly believe in the Christian God, right? They're just asking the universe, declaring it, right? Giving up, relinquishing control.
I would argue that everybody does that at some point.
Yeah.
And I would say that you have to be very careful about what
it's human.
Well, yeah. Because at some point you'll find that there's a human failing that you cannot, on your own, overcome. And so I think it's important because, I think the best warning against just general reaching out is Nosferatu. She reaches out to any spirit that can help her, and then she finds the ultimate cosmic predator, which is, in this case, Nosferatu. And I've never seen the original Nosferatu films, the older ones. Would you, Azrael, AC, would you guys consider those noir? I have not seen them. I would consider the new one noir-esque, or at least noir influenced.
Nosferatu
is not black and white.
Nosferatu is German. It's basically, you could just it doesn't mean this per se, but you could just almost directly translate it to German Dracula is basically what it is, because it's loosely kind of inspired by Dracula, made by the Germans. Well, this is why, right here, the German expressionism, right? It's the Germans were the ones who, as far as noir is concerned, if noir is the baby of the 1940s and 50s, the German expressionism was the ingredient of psychological, psychology, because it's a lot of think about it, German psychologists.
You've got distorted visuals and exaggerated shadows to mirror psychological turmoil.
Yeah. And
did either of you see the newer Nosferatu movie?
I did, yeah.
Not the new one, no. The old one, yes. It was a classic.
It's not black and white, but it has maybe the highest contrast shadows in the film I've seen.
Yeah.
Period. It's very noir inspired, and even the color palette is not. It's usually very very not they lower the contrast in most shots, so it's virtually black and white for portions of the film anyway.
Yeah.
Shrek to something, and he's on an outtake. He's just having his lunch, and he looks more noir during his lunch break than he does in the actual movie. Oh, this is the one. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. This is before they had it
the movie.
Yeah. he's on lunch break,
movie, folks.
He's on lunch break, and he's just looking over. He's like, I'm in a movie.
That looks horrifying. That looks horrifying.
Leave a stick, run for your life.
Yeah. Just slow head turn. What are you looking at? Yeah.
If I see this, I'm not running away. I'm bringing out a heavy crucifix and just walking with that in front of me. That's my move.
Nosferatu was the vampire inspiration for Salem's Lot, our personal favorite vampire movie.
Window, Mark. Please. Let me in. It's okay, Mark. I'm your friend. He commands it.
I got you.
I had not seen it yet. That's the newer Stephen King one, isn't it?
Not the new one. We're talking about the original one, where don't open the window, folks.
That's right.
Don't open the window.
You know what one of my favorites are? You might be able to get behind this because it's European inspired. Let the Right One In. What do you think of that one?
Oh, that's a good. It's slow, but it's good for me.
Du måste bjuda in mig.
Vad händer om jag inte gör det? Vad händer om du går in ändå?
Have you ever seen a Near Dark?
Near Dark?
Yes,
that's a good name. No, I haven't. Near
A
Dark.
very slow vampire movie with a modern edge, and it's absolutely beautiful. You know how everybody cites The Lost Boys from the 80s as that
Lost Boys is an amazing film.
Well, the choice, the select cut vampire movie was actually Near Dark. Featuring a caravan, a car, a barroom dance, and lots of dusky twilight scenes. It is, see it, make up your mind.
Oh, and I suppose From Dusk Till Dawn is just chopped liver. All right, guys. All right, we got to get back to the Noir talk.
Well, are they psychos? Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a how crazy they are.
Certain scenes of that movie.
Well, vampires essentially.
How Kahuna way to handle it.
Lost Boys is one of my favorite films. I adore that film. And it's like, for some reason, like, when I was younger, all my favorite vampire films were like, you got Lost Boys, you got the Blade movies, and then maybe like one which was
Blade was alright. Don't you think Blade was alright?
It's so hot right now. So hot.
You out of your damn mind?
So hot right
now. Vampires are always going to be hot, Kahuna. Vampires are always going to be hot.
I think they will be. Yeah, I think they will be. Twilight almost killed them, no pun intended, but I think they're coming back. One of the interesting aspects here, so the Germans got the psychological stuff, which I thought is just totally on point, and we got a direct infusion of German filmmakers from those who were fleeing Nazism.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.
They came over here with their their early prototype noir psychological focus with their filmmaking. The French added the poetic, probably more emotional side of things. That's where you know, so like between like psychological and poetic, you can kind of see how things like It's a Wonderful Life start taking shape. They also introduced the fatalistic themes, so like you can see how if noir in general is a precursor to Grimedark, the French influence is where you get the fatalistic aspect of things.
I never wanted this. I never wanted to unleash my legions.
And Italian, it says here, semi-documentary style. So the Italians literally added like a purposeful flair to the entire thing. You got this psychological, emotional, poetic, fatalistic idea.
Well, with the Italian edition, what that did was it made it so the characters in the film and the way the filmmakers, they treated it like it was real more than other filmmakers at the time.
Gritty realism.
Before, like a lot of that, it's like filmmakers were treating it like, oh, this is a scene. We must act.
Yeah, it's a movie.
So much for joining my acting class. For starters, ignore your scene partner because you better goddamn believe they're ignoring you. And for Christ's sake, ignore the script, okay? You're better than a writer, right? Writers are dorks.
Expressionistic influence. You've got narrative themes of moral ambiguity, fatalism, crime and deception. You've got the femme fatale. Tone of mood is cynical and pessimistic. Voiceover narration, like your documentary kind of vibe going on there. Themes of alienation, paranoia, and existential dread. Just like today. Historical context are influences. Film noir drew from 1930s gangster movies, hardboiled detective action, Dashiell Hammett, Raymond Chandler, the German expressionistic cinema, but
basically make the protagonist Harrison Ford in real life.
Yeah. And World War II, basically, and the aftermath, as AC's talked about, and the production of many noirs was basically backing what Kahuna said in terms of low budget B movies, probably with film grain on the type of camera film that had at times. So that's probably why you got a grainy kind of look, which we love. And obviously, iconic examples are The Maltese Falcon, 1941, Double Indemnity, 1944. You got Out of the Past, 1947, which we need to see again. The Big Sleep, Touch of Evil, 1958. Orson Welles, late noir, of course. Key directors are, of course, John Huston, Billy Wilder, Fritz Lang, as we mentioned, Orson Welles, as we mentioned, Howard Hawks, and Robert Seod.
And you did mention Hitchcock too. That's a big one.
Hitchcock as well, a big one.
Hitchcock was a big influence on that. Yeah, influenced by it.
Orson Welles.
A rich, full-bodied wine, sensibly priced at $1 a jug. And now, for a little magic, I will make this jug disappear.
Isn't part of the noir definition that the films must be in part pessimistic or fatalistic? Obviously, watching a movie like It's a Wonderful Life, it's not the case for that film. It has a very hopeful, good message by the end of the film. It shows you the darkest dark to brighten the lightest white.
Well, that's the idea. Not only is noir a visual style, but it's actually a moral style. You know, the actual writing side of things versus the visual cinematography side of things. They actually mirror one another, or they actually are as one in terms of the rhythm. So in terms of It's a Wonderful Life, it shows you, are you an optimist or a pessimist? Are you glass half full or glass half empty? You can take either from that movie, because when he's desperate on the bridge, he's contemplating suicide.
Yep.
We're here to make coffee metal. We will make everything metal. Blacker than the blackest black, times infinite.
It's in him to save somebody else who jumps. You know the angel?
Yeah.
Clarence. So he gets over.
You gotta love Clarence, man. He's so
yeah.
He gets over himself to give to someone else because he's a natural giver. But in that moment, he thought about it because he was desperate.
Get me back! Get me back! I don't care what happens to me. Get me back to my wife and kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that in that movie, or maybe it's because I'm a little dark. I have a dark sense of humor, but I'm like, Clarence the Angel could have definitely just stopped him from jumping in. Instead, he gave him a reason to jump in, which was ironic in a way. But
right,
morality, lesson learned that he'll not do that again. But that's the thing, isn't it? It's the rise and fall. He gets to be the hero and villain in his own movie.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
fantastic.
Rosebud. Yes, rosebud frozen peas. Full of country goodness and green penis. Wait, that's terrible. I quit. Just a handful for the road.
He gives, by wishing he was never born, in a moment of self-pity because he'd been bopped on the lip. Yeah, nobody likes a smack in the mouth. As Mike Tyson once said, everybody's got a plan until they get a punch in the mouth or the head. Yeah.
In closing on Noir, I'm invigorated.
One second. Why does it endure?
Why does it endure? Because it's the basis of like storytelling. It is the it's like when people when famous basketball players say stick to the fundamentals. It's the same thing. It's the fundamentals.
We know can dunk, but good fundamentals.
That more fun to watch.
Oh God, you're killing me.
Why does it endure better than Grimedark?
Is it its stylish visuals, psychological depth, and existential themes that resonate with us as basic human beings? Stylish visuals, we like something that looks nice, but it's got psychological depth. You've got to have something in your soul, in your head, here and here, if we're doing chakras. And existential themes, life and death. If we don't,
poverty and non-poverty, desperation, what it does to a person, all of that.
But if we don't have redemption, living is death. You end up with a stone heart.
I get it.
I think Grimedark is like if if Noir is like a lovely like multi-layered brownie or cookie, Grimedark is like
black and white.
Yeah, Grimedark is like an M&M, where it's like it looks one way, you bite into it, it has something else, it doesn't taste bad.
It's all dark on the inside.
But it's like it's not quite as complicated as like a brownie or a cookie or something like that. I think the same ingredients almost even, a little different shell kind of thing. But I do think Grimedark can be done just as good. Wow. And like all genres can be done better than other genres, right? It just depends on who's delivering whatever the particular story happens to be.
Many people died.
But I do think that there is a timeless, pervasive aspect to noir because of the fundamental quality. And the reason that doesn't necessarily exist with Grimedark is because it goes from that fatalism and it twists it into nihilism
and pessimism, and they're like, and what I dislike about that is like there's a story like Joe Abercrombie, very good writer, love his books. by the end of the first trilogy, I hated every character. That's a pretty I like them, but by the end, I hated every character, and that's.
But the writer's done his job if you hate them. The director's done his job if you hate the character in the movie.
I know, but that doesn't mean I don't want to read those stories very often.
We must hear me out. We must hate Walter White.
You're goddamn right.
I wouldn't say you might even be able to call Breaking Bad some sort of like visual grimdark going on there, just with the storytelling, the nature of an inverted character arc, like a declining character arc, is very grimdark, and I think there's a level of fatigue that comes when everything becomes aspects of grimdark, different shades of grimdark, glorifying the main character, like you said. Did they do their job if you didn't like the main character? That's the thing. All these modern writers want to be grimdark, so they end up glorifying bad people. And I think that's where you need to do it tastefully. There's a time and a place for grimdark. I do love it when it's well done. You need to want to see the main character go down, but you need to like the character enough to see how far they go.
It has to be redemption. Otherwise, what is there?
A lot of the time there is redemption, or at least the attempt, or at least the reaching for redemption. You don't even get the reaching in most grimdark. It's like,
No, give me your other hand.
Oh, my other hand isn't strong enough. You take my little hand.
No, get it away.
You're talking about the show Orange is the New Black, which is the most nihilistic show I've ever, one of the most nihilistic shows I've ever watched. But as like you're talking about, she's like, oh, like Alex, she's like my spirit animal. I'm like, you mean the drug-addled prison, like a lesbian? That's your spirit animal?
You're weak. I'd like to interrupt there, chaps. Can we have noir style incorporating colour? Oh, we don't know. Blade Runner, 1982, not the modern version, the 1982 version.
I like that. That's our next movie.
What about Star Wars Episode 3, where it goes down? The majestic dark jewel.
Star Wars?
As in jewel, and jewel as in fight. A double jewel. That's noir. Silent noir movie is what it actually is. What about classic samurai movies? You know which one I'm talking about, Yojimbo. And let's just get it right. I'm not going to say samurai sword this time. We're going to say something like this. Hope you're listening out there, folks. Katana.
Aku's grasp chokes the past, present, and future.
I'll put everybody's stuff in the description down below. Thanks for watching, everybody, and until next time.
That, AC.
Cheers, guys.
Rosebud.